It's time once again for the Passion to Succeed podcast, where we explore the traits, mindsets, and attitudes of passionate and successful individuals. This show is for anyone who wants to make a difference, make more money, learn from the greatest minds, and discover how to be more successful in all you do and doing it with a pure passion to succeed. Here's your host, serial entrepreneur, successful author, and the world's most passionate master coach, Craig White.
Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Passion to Succeed podcast show. It's Craig White, your host as always, and I'm really excited today to bring to you a really amazing guy, someone that really, the success over the years fascinates me and inspires me. And I want to introduce you to a guy that is an award-winning author and also the most acclaimed chef I've ever set my eyes on and become aware of. And it's a real privilege to introduce you today to a really great guy called Chef Charles Carroll. Charles, massive welcome to our show today.
Thank you so much, Craig. I'm really a pleasure to be here.
Right, so it's a real pleasure to have you on board. Hey, look, it's great. As a show, we really do look to seek out, passionate individuals in their field, Charles, that can really share some insights to really raise the games and raise the beliefs of the possibilities, I guess, that lie within us, around us, and before us. We've got an amazing community of listeners, and I really do feel that we've got a phenomenal show ahead today. Just looking at what you've achieved over the years. You've won over 90 awards, both nationally and internationally, in this chef environment. I mean, that's just amazing. How's that even come about?
Well, thank you, Craig. I've been blessed to be surrounded by some really super people and individuals and some really cool opportunities. I guess the awards all kind of started with the Culinary Olympics. And a lot of people don't realize there's a World Culinary Olympics, but it happens every 4 years, just like the Sports Olympics. And it's probably just as grueling as a chef, because you're working 60, 70 hours in your current property, and then you're going to work another 20 or 30 in preparation of the Culinary Olympics, and you're traveling the world and competing. So after that, just so many other things, as you know, and probably a lot of the listeners know, that once you keep pounding on doors and raising your hand and volunteering, and what I like to say is chewing off the table to do whatever it takes to be successful, things just keep coming your way. And so we're, I'm just real fortunate in that respect.
It's amazing, and as you said, I certainly wasn't aware, even being an ex-chef myself, many years ago. I wasn't aware of the Culinary Olympics, but what's fascinating is on your first Culinary Olympics, you actually achieved the gold medal, which is just fantastic. So well done. And then you've been, I believe, associated with 8 further Olympic Games in the culinary field for over the last 3 decades. So you've really had an impact in that environment, I guess.
Yeah. So, it's once it's in your blood, as they say, it's hard to get it out. And I was, obviously I started out as a competitor, and then competitor into a coach into a manager, and then manager into a kind of like an ambassador or a advisor. And then after that, I was blessed enough to be a judge, and that's kind of like the last page in that. And that, because there's usually around 30 countries that compete, so that there's only one or maybe 2 judges from the United States. So to be one of those 2, that's it's a great honor. So I hold that pretty close to my heart.
Well, and rightfully so. And you were also obviously the president of the World Association of Chef Society, which is a society over 105 countries worldwide. So that I guess is in recognition of your contribution and ability in all areas of this culinary field. How did that feel? What was the role of being the president of this association?
Well, I finished my term last September, but in my case, Craig, it was kind of like sitting in the wrong chair at the wrong time when the music stopped. But I was involved with World Chefs, and it's an incredible organization, and I encourage people to go online and find the World Chefs Association. And it's not too many organizations you can be a part of that it is worldwide. So that's exciting. And I was involved, actually, as in charge of their congresses, which is every 2 years. We just had our congress in Greece last year, and the next one will be in Malaysia next year. And then I went from that being asked to be vice president because the vice president's wife was taken ill, and so I didn't really want to get into the politic end of it. I like providing the members with the show and the education and being involved that way. And so I long story is I said yes, and then there was a situation with the president where he had to step down, and so there I was holding the reins. So it wasn't anything that I petitioned for or actually ran for, which is the typical way for that organization. But I am very proud of what we were able to accomplish, and it's pretty special. Craig, as you probably know, and dipping your toe in the water with being a chef, that there's no better way to have friendships. We sit around the table and break bread and have a glass of wine, and so our doors are always open for other colleagues from around, anywhere. They can visit at any time. That's just the hospitality in us all. So now I'm blessed to say I have friends in 105 countries, and if I don't know somebody in that country, I can pick up a phone call and have a contact within an hour. So that was the biggest reward a guy could ever ask for is the friendships that I've taken on over the last 2 years.
I can understand. I mean, obviously, the quality of our life certainly lies within the quality of our relationships. So a great opportunity to find, discover, and build new friendships, I guess.
Yes.
Hey, I mean, you're still really contributing on a higher level. You as you said, you're still, I guess, chewing the corner of the table off and working hard on your trade and contributing not just to that culinary market, but to a wider market now. I mean, you're a sought-after speaker. You're an award-winning author, but you're still working as an executive chef at one of the most prestigious country clubs in the United States at the moment, I believe.
Yes, in Houston, and actually, as everyone probably knows, that we've had a challenge over the last 2 weeks with the hurricane, and so we're getting through that, and traffic is still tough, and there's a lot of people. There's over 100,000 homes that are affected, but yeah, we're in Houston, and it is one of the top 3 busiest clubs in the United States, and I love it. I have a team of 75 that are in my kitchens. I have 6 kitchens and 3 restaurants, and we do roughly between 80 and 100 parties a week. So it's a busy operation, and I love teams. I mean, I learned how to build teams, at a very young age, and I have a lot to. I have a lot of people to thank for that. The American Culinary Federation, the Chefs Federation here, and being a part of all those Olympic teams, you quickly learn the qualities and strengths of being a part of good teams, and so I'm very grateful for that and all the people before me.
That's fantastic. I mean, talking about those qualities and strengths of being a part of a team, but also the leadership. I mean, is there any particular principles that you can share that you've learned over your years? And I want to go back in a moment as well to kind of where it all started. But looking at some of these qualities and strengths, what would you feel would be areas of focus and habits that people can create to be a great team member, or even start to develop them leadership skills?
Boys, I have a million of them. But I guess if I had to, if I'm kind of relating it to the culinary field and the Olympic teams, to get on an Olympic team, and I guess it might be somewhat relatable in the sports arena. To get on an Olympic team, you're competing usually as an individual in a lot of competitions to gain enough points and to qualify to even get on Olympic team. And then if you're lucky enough and talented enough to get on the United States Culinary Olympic team, you then are now a member of a team and not an individual effort. So that's a lesson you need to learn real quick, and it's the same thing in the business world today. That as you start out as a young individual, you're trying to get that great job. You're trying to climb the ladder. You're trying to get into to a company and be successful in that company, and you're doing it individually. And eventually, you're going to get that supervisor job or that title. or the corner office or whatever it might be. And I think it's all relatable because, once you get there, you're no longer an individual. You're no longer that person trying to claw or climb the ladder one rung at a time. So my biggest lesson there would be, the more people that you grab a hold of and bring along with you as you're climbing that ladder, the more successful you will be, and to learn that it's okay to hire somebody more talented than you are in certain areas of in my case, the kitchen or wherever. Trust your people and listen to them. I have 6 kitchens. I can't be in all of them at the same time, and I can't be in all of them during service time. So I have to hire really great people, let them run their kitchen and get out of the way. My job is to make sure they have everything they have to be successful, and listen when they have something to say. The second thing I'll say to that, Craig, is if sometimes in our field, you'll see on TV a lot, the chef has it's my way or the highway, or this is the way it's going to be, or the Gordon Ramsays, or whatever the case is. I think those days are obviously long gone, but there's still some out there. But the more that you listen to your people and you sit around the table and they're throwing around these ideas, you have a particular problem or issue at hand, and you go around the table and you listen to everybody's input on it, and then you collectively decide what direction you're going to go from there. And it may be your idea, and it may be somebody else's idea. But the more you start listening to everybody else and take their ideas in, the more they are vested in the project, and the more that they'll have your back at all times. And for the times I've been traveling on Olympic teams and traveling with the World Association and Chef Society, I've had to step away from the property quite often, and I feel really good about my people, that they make good decisions because I listen to them and they are vested in the program.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's fascinating because I look at what you've achieved so far, and there's something that's really stood out for me, and it just, as you were talking briefly a moment ago about obviously the challenges in Houston at the moment. And it just reminded me of the contribution you had, many years ago now, where I say many years, I think it was maybe 6-7 years ago, where you was responsible for assembling a team and going and cooking 5,000 meals in the war zone of Afghanistan. And obviously you've been presented with the Honourable Order of the St. Martin Award, which is just phenomenal. And, to think, I guess, from humble beginnings, which I'd like to discuss with you in a moment, but to come from where it all started to then being able to have such a phenomenal impact at a level greater than yourself. I mean, how did that come about? It must surely be one of your proudest moments.
Oh, it's by far the most special time of my life, other than, my family, my wife and kids. And by far the most, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you talk about it. And Craig, I just want to, before I forget, you hit on something that's powerful and it shouldn't be overlooked. When you're a part of something bigger than you, if you're chewing off the end of the table, you're ready to jump off a cliff and you want to do this thing, whatever it is, whether it's a business or it's a project or if it's Afghanistan. If you make it not about you, you make it about somebody else or something else, something much bigger than you, you'll find that doors will swing open left and right and forward and backwards, and people just bending over backwards are trying to help you because you're trying to do something good. You're trying to touch people's hearts. You're trying to do something special, way bigger than you. And that's really a key thing and shouldn't be taken lightly. Afghanistan, the first time, I've been there 3 times. The first time we went to Bagram Air Force Base, 30,000 troops there. And it's not just U.S. troops either, by the way. They're from all over the world. It's a NATO organization. So there were troops from everywhere. And we fed 3,000 troops a Cajun Creole meal, and we gave away a couple of ton in gift, and we put on 3, what I say, Vegas-style shows. And I'll explain that in a second. The second one was in Kandahar with 35,000 troops, and every single one of them carrying a live weapon 24/7. And that one we did 5 ton of gifts. We fed 5,000 troops, and we did 5 shows total. And when I say shows, they were the big one was a 7-hour show we had 30,000 pounds of show gear that we brought with us, and then of course all the gifts, anything from cigars to iPods, music, movies, Visine, socks, shooting guns, energy drinks, anything that would, those kind of things, and we gave away a lot of hugs. It was just it was very, very emotional, and we had a lot of presidents' messages, and it was a yeah, it was a big thing.
And how did that even come about? Where did that idea come from?
Well, a friend of mine, Chef John Fultz from New Orleans, one year he asked me, hey, I'm thinking about going over I was asked by a general to go over to Afghanistan and feed the troops for the 4th of July. And he said, do you want to come with me and help? And I said, sure, of course. And that fell through because some other planning, actually the vice president was going over, so they nixed the trip. So ever since then, it was in my head. And so so I started putting it together myself. And it got big. It was supposed to be go over there, feed the troops, and do a little ham and egg, cooking demonstration, have some fun. And it turned into 20 celebrities and 10 support team and 5, all the things that I already discussed. So it was huge. And the majority, the first time I raised 185,000, and the second time I raised 265,000. It was called Operation Hot. A lot of great video footage on my website, by the way. Some really outstanding video footage. But honoring our troops, and so it's one of the most special times of my life.
Well, I can see why, and the hairs on the arms of myself are standing up, because I think that kind of just that level of giving value to others and making a real difference. When guys and women are miles away from their families in a war zone or. Whatever level it is. I mean, what you've contributed there is phenomenal, and to go and make a difference. And I can almost visualize the empowering hugs and gratitude from everyone, to contribute and to receive. And it's just phenomenal. And, one of the things that sits really well with me, Charles, is the whole message of the Passion to Succeed show and the business that's developing is really to be able to take a mindset of contribution to the world where it's needed. And that's, at the beginning of such a phenomenal journey. So it's really inspiring seeing that. And it's just, I think, focusing on value without need of compensation is just so important. Just really, really privileged to be speaking to you, and really pleased that you were awarded the honourable, order of, the St. Martin Award, because that's, fully deserved. So going right back to kind of humble beginnings, where did your interest in food and cooking come from? Because, from my little, dip in the water, so to speak, when I was early, I kind of stumbled from a pot wash into a chef and loved it for the period of time. But how did it start for you? Where did the interest come from?
Well, I grew up in a country inn in Vermont, New Englander, as they say, and my mom and dad owned the inn, and so when you're a family-owned business, as many people know, you're working 8 days a week, and that's it. And so first, second, third grade in school, you're shoveling snow, setting fireplaces, filling bars and lugging ice, and you're doing all the chores and helping people to their rooms. And then at third grade, I just started cooking. My dad's a chef, my brother's a chef, and it's really all I was, it's one of those, those gym rats kind of thing. I was always at my dad's ankles, and I was, just want to do everything my dad was doing. So that's how it started. And then I went to the Balsams Grand Resort Hotel in New Hampshire, and I became chef there eventually. I'm a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America in New York. And then I got a position at Oak Hill Country Club, a very famous golf club in New York. And then I was recruited to come down here in Houston. So I'm proud to say I've only had 3 jobs in my career, and that's somewhat rare in our field, because you used to see chefs moving around a little bit. But I've hung my hat here, and the membership here is amazing. We have 1,700 members, and our family's really taken to Houston.
Sounds like you're doing a fantastic job, Charles. It really does. So, obviously, I mentioned briefly at the beginning of the show that you're an award-winning author, and 2 of the books that you've already written are Leadership Lessons from a Chef, Finding Time to Be Great, and Tasting Success, Your Guide to Becoming a Professional Chef. And I want to talk about your new book as well in a moment, but the personal passion that you have that personal passion, how has it underpinned your success in all you've done, but then I guess taking that message to the masses outside of this culinary environment?
Well, it's a great question. I really love where I am in my career, in my life. Mostly because right now I'm trying to pick projects that I really want to do. I've been, being a part of so many different other things, and because you're successful at a couple, then all of a sudden the invitations are flying your way, which is flattering. But the books. I have a lot to thank for the Olympic teams for learning about teams. And at a very young age, I was building teams at the Balsams Resort. They had a great apprenticeship program. And when you see these people be successful and they see how they grab a hold of you and you help them with knowledge and help them be successful and make it about them attaining their goals, all of a sudden the kitchens, the teams they just blossomed, and they thought so much of me. And they would jump in foxholes and fight the battle at any time. That's just the kind of situation I was in, and it was such an amazing feeling. So I just kept going with it, and so the kitchens that I was in charge of, we had a really tight bond. And then I was inspired by a book, and I was reading it on the plane in January. I was going to my mom's birthday, and I got off the plane and I told my dad, I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be called Finding Time to Be Great. And I knew nothing about writing a book, and this is a great lesson too, by the way. And my dad says, "Oh, good for you. Get in a car. Let's go." I said, "No." I said, "Seriously, I'm going to." Fast forward over some really cool stories. By July, I had a contract with a publisher. Wow. Which is amazing. And I had what I thought was a book, which it wasn't a book. It was a bunch of pages. And they came to see me. Actually, 3 publishers were in an audience when I was speaking, and they saw each other. I didn't know who they were, and they said, "Well, we better sign this guy." So it was really a fluke how I got signed. But what's cool about the book is being used in over 40 schools all around the world, parts of the country, is that it's written by a chef in a kitchen, and the title is so true. How do you find time? How do you find time to be great? How do you find time to build your teams and help others? Because some days it's just all we can do just to get the food out. And so that's how the book is written, and sometimes it's in your face, and that's what the students love about it, and that's what the professors love about it, because it is written by a chef in a kitchen, and sometimes he tells you, like it is. He gets right in your face and says, "Hey, if you want to do something, you got to get off your butt and and do it." And so from then, my most favorite, I do a lot of speaking and all over the world, and one of my favorite things is speaking to students. And when I was doing the tour on the first book, I would ask the students, "What do you want to do when you graduate?" And 9 times out of 10, I would get the answer of "get a good job somewhere." And I was like, "Oh my God, what a terrible answer!" And so that's why I wrote the second book, and to help. And it's written for students. It should be given to them right when they start school with their uniforms and their knives, or any student. And it helps them attack school. It helps them attack the next 2 or 3 years that they're in school, so they don't waste their time. So when they graduate, at least they have an idea of what avenue they want to be in. Where do they want to go? What kind of person do I want to be like? It helps them with those decisions.
I'm so excited to hear that them books are being used in schools, because again, it sits really well with me. I've got 2 beautiful young daughters, and I've seen how my journey of personal development over the last 17 years has really changed myself, but obviously then it changes the environment that we create. And I know I was lucky to have great parents that you mentioned before yourself, but I think the world as a whole, it's that age group of children when they're so influential that, to be able to get that message of leadership, to finding time to be great, and teaching kids values and strengthening their character and their belief really does sit well with me. So that's just phenomenal. And again, a passion of mine to be able to influence that environment too. So I absolutely love that you've got them in schools. And that really takes me to your existing book now that you've just written, and amazingly, you've co-authored with a great guy, John David Mann, which I found out recently talking to John Charles, that he co-authored a book which was the first book that I read that set me on my personal development, self-development kind of plan over the last 17 years. So how did you come to work with John on this new book?
It's a good story, actually. I like telling people that he found me on Facebook, and he was after me, and he heckled me and for on and on and on until I finally said, okay, I'll do a book with you, which is actually just the exact opposite. So I like giving John a hard time. John's he's the man. He's a pro. He is a pro. He has 20 some odd books. He's a 8-time national best-selling author. I mean, I'm over the moon blessed and to be even considered to be a partner with him. And so I wrote another book. I had 8 or 9 chapters of it, and so I pinged John on Facebook, and lo and behold, he responded. I was like, holy cow, he responded. And I was the same thing as you. I read The Go-Giver, and it was a gift to me, and we ended up sharing it with all our managers here at the club, and so I ended up having John down as a guest, and he spoke to our members, and then I said, hey, take a look at this. What do you think of this? I have this idea. And, The Recipe is a book that we've done together. And my God, I mean, I couldn't have had a better partner in this. And so I'm going to tell you one sentence. And every time I tell this to all my friends or on a show, automatically the light bulb goes off. It's about a young boy who loses his dad at a young age. He's mad at the world. He's mad at God. And he gets himself in a lot of trouble, and he is then mentored by a crusty old military chef, and who sees him getting in trouble. He pulls him in. In every chapter, it's a life lesson. In every chapter, they cook something. And food has so much. There's so much about life in food. Mm-hmm. And food is involved in everything we do in life, whether there's celebrations of birthdays or weddings or holidays, or if it's the celebration of life of a loved one. So the food just reflects so well, sits so well with everybody. So the book is really special. We do actually have some movie interest, which we're really excited about. It may not mean anything, but I think, Craig, by now you know that I'm a dreamer. Mm-hmm. And I originally wrote the book with the idea of it becoming a movie, and that's a big lesson to your listeners out there. All my life I've pushed, I've chewed, I've pounded, and I know as sure as I'm sitting here today that if you keep doing that, and I know you have some people out there say, yeah, I get it, you've worked hard and you were successful. No, they ask, how do you do all this? How are you successful? And this is my biggest. If anybody leaves your show today and they learn something, let it be this, is that you never give up. You keep pounding until you accomplish what you want to accomplish. And sure, you're going to fall on your face several different times, but what that is just I'm not going to be cliche-ish or anything like that, but what that means is you now need to look a different direction to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. And the secret is you dream about something, and you got to make a decision. Am I going to jump or not? Am I going to jump off this cliff and do this thing or not? Yeah. And then once you jump, you got to get started. That's the biggest thing, is get started. Get started. And what did I know about writing books? Nothing. What did I know about John David Mann? How can I get connected with him? Nothing. I reached out. I pinged with him. What did I know about Afghanistan? Absolutely nothing. Was that easy? No, it wasn't easy. And now we're working on podcasts and working on a TV show and working on making the book become a movie. What do I know about the movie business? Absolutely nothing. But I've had 80 meetings in the last 10 months about it. So I know a little bit now. And so those dreams are slowly coming true. So, you can sit on your couch at home and you can make a decision. Am I going to sit there and wish I could be like that guy on TV? Am I going to sit there and wish I could be like that author or that whatever it is that you're thinking about? you're going to get up off your butt and do something about it. And that's the biggest secret, is get started.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think dreamers move mountains, but there's so many dreamers in the world, and it's good to know that there's people out there that are leading the way, and as you said, just taking that first step and continuing. I think there's a congruency that I feel speaking to both yourself and John, that you very much are your message as well. You kind of live, breathe, and I guess walk your talk, which is just really, really great to see. So this book, The Recipe, it's a story of loss and love and the ingredients for success, which you're sharing some ideas with us. And what are the ingredients for success that are shared in this book that I really do hope becomes a movie as well? It'd be such a great story to share in the future. But what's the ingredients for greatness?
Well, there's lots of them. Some of it which we've kind of already touched on. Yeah. But one of them is that we kind of touched on a little bit, is about building your team, and that's one of. And what's really cool about the book is it is a beautiful story. It is there is life lessons in there. There are some chef's rules and chef's rules of living and chef's rules for the kitchen. So there is some of those things in there, and there's also some recipes at the very end, which is kind of unique. So in fact, John and I just did some filming. We made 8 or 10 short films, and we're actually cooking the food. So those recipes are going to be available as bonus material for anybody who purchases the book before October 17th. So that's kind of a bonus, kind of behind the scenes thing, and cooking with John and I. Wow. So that's another fun project there. But building your team, we touched on earlier, is one of our rules, and it's all about, again, hiring people that it could be more talented than you are. Don't be afraid to do that, and put your hand on people's shoulders and have conversations and listen. Be a good listener. Another one that we really like is to cook with honor. There's the saying in the book about being great with being great and being excellent. What's the difference between the two? So you can do something pretty good today. You can do something excellent today, but can you do it with honor? Can you do it all the time? With kind of the idea of, what do you do when the lights are off? What do you do when people aren't looking? Are you still that same person? Are you still that same guy or gal? Can you do it with honor all the time, consistently? So we talk about those types of things in there, and then pay attention to the little things. And I think
I was going to mention that to you, because I saw one of the rules was pay attention to the little things, and you hear this so often. How does that transcend into the kitchen, but then also not just in the kitchen, to everyday life of paying attention to the little things, so the big things do take care of themselves?
Well, there's a couple of analogies to it. Let's talk about the Olympics for a second. You get a young person fresh out of school who wants to be in the culinary Olympics team, thinking, I want to do the centerpieces, I want to do the pulled sugars, I want to do the beautiful, these big arrangements, I want to get the gold medal. And so immediately they want to jump from the ground to the 4th floor without having to go through all the basics and learning what it takes, all the different cuts, the craftsmanship it takes to get there. They just want to immediately start doing those beautiful centerpieces and kind of things, and you can't do that without learning the craft first. And then in business or in anything, if you aspire for these wonderful goals, these really great things, these big, at the end of the rainbow, there's a certain amount of success, or the payday, or the money, or the awards, or whatever the case is. But those are the big things. That's the rainbow. But don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about the end of the rainbow. What you got to worry about is the beginnings, the stepping stones, the basics, because you start doing wonderful things at a young age. You start volunteering for everything. If you start raising your hand and getting on committees and doing things, again, going back to what we said before, that are bigger than you, don't make it about you. Just do the right thing, make the right decisions, and be a part of everything you possibly can, and network. The big things will come. They'll take care of themselves. They'll come your way. It's like the story that Joanne King Herring once told me. And she was a very famous woman here in Houston, and she was portrayed by Julia Roberts in Charlie Wilson's War. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's a fantastic movie. Julia Roberts played her, and Tom Hanks played Charlie Wilson. And what she told me is, she said, Charles, you got to pound and pound and pound and pound on the door until you get in, and then you're going to finally get in that door, and then you go to the next door, and you realize it's locked, and you're going to be pissed off, you're going to be upset, and you're going to be upset. Most people would turn around and go home, but you keep pounding and pounding and pounding. And when you finally get to the end, that last door, you open it up, you're going to realize all the doors are now open for you. You can have the opportunity to choose which door you want to go down. And I know that to be true as sure as I'm sitting here today. And you got to work hard, work hard, and get off your butt and do something. If you're not happy about something in your life, if you're not happy about your weight, you're not happy about where you're living, or who your partner is, or who your friends are, you're not happy about your end results in your job, if you're not happy about your job, whatever the case is, if you're not happy about something, get up off your butt and do something about it. Stop complaining and just get off your butt and do something about it.
Easy for some and not so easy for others, I guess. I mean, human nature more often than not is to go down that path of least resistance. But I think, the more we consume and the more we strengthen our environment, it's certainly going to make a positive difference. And obviously, you working in with students and in schools, it's where it all starts, because the children are the future of the world, very much. And so I'm really excited to obviously grab a copy of this new book, The Recipe. It's out on the 17th of October. You mentioned when people purchase a pre-order, they're going to get access to these bonuses. Can John actually cook, Charles?
You know what I think, Craig? I think the only reason why he said yes to this project because he knew he was going to eat good for the next couple of years. So, no, he when we did the demos, he was a professional eater and I was the cooker. So, but John loves to cook though. He's the real pro, because on any of his books he tries to live like the person in the book. So he did a lot of cooking at home, and so he did a lot of that work on the side, and we're real proud of The Recipe. It's an amazing book. It is out now for pre-purchase, and that's how they can get access to those videos. So they can go to Amazon, and or the Ingredients of Greatness. Ingredients
of Greatness. So I was going to ask you as well, because you mentioned earlier about the Las Vegas style videos on your website for people to get a bit of an insight of what you actually did out in Afghanistan. Which website is that? Is that the Ingredients of Greatness website as well, or?
No, ChefCharlesCarroll.com. ChefCharlesCarroll, Carroll.com is where you can find everything, basically.
Fantastic.
And links to the book and everything else. So that's probably the easiest one to remember, ChefCharlesCarroll.com. And then it'll have a link there for the ingredientsofgreatness.com as well for the book and everything else. So we're proud of it, and we're getting huge reviews by everyone, and it's very, very emotional. Once you start reading it, you're gonna be sitting there for a while because it's hard to put down.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to get my hands on a copy. I'm really, really grateful for you to spend some of your valuable time with us and here at Passion to Succeed and the listeners. So I'm very pleased. One final question. Is the book itself? Obviously you're an award-winning chef. You've had a lot of impact. Is it in some way a story of your life? Is it connected a little bit to it? Is the things that you've experience, is it in some way an autobiography, or is it something quite fresh, or was it influenced by both?
Well, it's a good question. There's so much in there about my life, but it's not a true story about my life. It's about a lot of stuff that I've seen or done or been a part of. There's we talk about Afghanistan. Well, we kind of rebuilt that through major flooding out west. Well, now that major flooding story is now true, because we're feeding first responders, we're feeding families that are displaced here in Houston. So that's now a true part in the book. We talk about the White House. I've been to the White House several times, and been honored by some of our presidents, which is very humbling. My dad owned a diner in Vermont, in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. That's where the idea of that diner came from, Mapletown Dinette. And so yes, there's so many truisms in there, and about so there is a lot of things about me or that I've seen or been a part of. the names of some of the characters, or my mom and my aunt who actually were waitresses at the diner, that kind of thing. So it's fun. I mean, you kind of, that was why it was so fun to write the book, because it just pours out of you. You don't have to go do the research on it. It just poured out of me. So.
Well, I think listeners I really do feel this is going to be a great book to get hold of. I mean, my journey, I found certainly in the early days, I was finding story related books enabled you to kind of get wrapped up in the story, but be empowered by the message behind. And I think that's was the beginnings of my personal development and enabled me to become a successful entrepreneur over the last 17 years. So Charles, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very much for giving us some of your time, and I bid you a fantastic day, and really pleased that you're obviously having that impact in the Houston area now as well. So good luck in all you do, and thanks again for your time.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's show, we would appreciate it if you would most people share through social media, then subscribe, rate and provide a review over at iTunes and SoundCloud. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. The Passion to Succeed show is brought to you by passiontosucceed.com. Get over to the website, subscribe and join the community of passionate people.